Hey everyone, you're live, it says.
Okay. Well,
Welcome to Fiji,
yeah,
our lovely Fijian apartment.
yeah. It actually is a nice apartment in Fiji. So that wasn't a dig.
No.
Okay. Well, we have 17 people with us already. Fantastic.
Can you scoot over just
I'm
a notch? Right there. Okay, good. Why did the exposure do that when you moved? Oh, okay.
We're fine now.
There you go.
Hopefully everybody can hear us okay. Hello from
chilly
Michigan.
Oh man, I wish it was a little bit chillier here.
Nice and toasty here. Yep, that's right.
Thank you.
Let's see.
They said you look good.
Oh, stupid stuff. I want to see the names of who everybody's
Can I
here.
make it bigger? I don't think so. Hello from Alabama.
Nice. Hello, Alabama.
Dallas. Fort Worth. Yes, we can hear you. We're chilly here in Wisconsin as well. Enjoying some cheese curds, I hope.
Yeah. Closest thing we've got to cheese curds right now would be halloumi. It's the squeakiest cheese we can get.
And it's $10 a little square.
Yeah. Cheese is kind of a novelty around here. There's not much of it. But that's okay, because pineapples are a dime a dozen.
We got Florida. We've got
Virginia.
I saw Oregon.
Boston.
Yeah.
North Carolina.
Raleigh.
Raleigh. Not Raleigh.
Yeah, I know. Hey,
Bellingham.
Bellingham. Yeah, we love that town.
Okay.
Freezing
Seattle.
in Z. What's going on in this world?
I know. It's cold everywhere
Yeah.
else, apparently, except for wherever we are.
Jeez, Birmingham. Love Birmingham.
Yeah.
California. Okay. We could go at this all day.
I know,
This is
right?
gonna
Yeah.
take up the whole
It's
chat
fantastic.
time. Hey guys, Australia.
Hey! You're
Oh,
you're
God.
probably closest to us than just about anybody else.
Yeah. Kissing me from the air. Oh no, easy.
That would be impressive.
Yeah.
So let's see. I guess a little update. Some people were asking about Curiosity. We did write that into the blog post, but in case you missed it, Curiosity is good. So it passed far enough away from Vava'u that Curiosity is good. She is probably going to be a filthy mess by the time we finally get back to her, because
Well, we've had somebody that goes and like wipes her down, and it cost us like $15 a week. It's no big deal, but they've been on lockdown for the past couple almost month. So
Yeah.
she's probably really moldy.
yeah, especially because of the cyclone, and just this
Yeah.
time of year is really tough. So we're gonna have a little bit of extra cleaning work to do whenever we get back, but that's all right. So that's Curiosity. Unfortunately, the other island, which is the one where our crate is, we still have not heard back from them on that.
Yeah.
That island,
Nuku'alofa, that was the island that the eye just basically went straight over.
so they got lashed pretty good. I haven't gotten any real progress reports other than what I see on the news sites, and like the local newspapers and stuff like that. So I know there was a lot of damage. I know there was tons of flooding. Like whether our crate was in an area that got flooded, I have no idea. So
Can't worry about it now, but
nope. Nothing like having a plywood box full of very
Very
expensive
equipment.
electronics. And wondering what the heck happened. But it is what it is. So.
Yeah, look, one thing we learned from being here in a cyclone is the news around the world, what little coverage this particular cyclone got. It's
very little, because
Yeah.
everything was Corona. Nobody cared about the fact that there was a Category 5 cyclone lashing
Yeah.
through islands. Blew me away.
But what we did learn was all the photos we saw, all the stories we saw, the couple videos that we did see about like Fiji.
Even here,
Yeah.
in our neighborhood,
They made it look like it was some sort of like terrible knockdown, everything blew
Yeah.
up buildings, like
if you looked at the local newspapers, well, not local, but like even from New Zealand and stuff, there were scenes that we recognized from this area that made it look far worse than it actually was. Now, granted, plenty of areas did get just hammered, and certainly Vanuatu, and even in Fiji, the islands where
the
the
little
storm.
one south of us.
Yeah, boy, they really got it. But here, even as we've driven around and gone out to the market and stuff like that, it hasn't been too bad. Look, the unfortunately, it's always the lower income, the poorer people that get hit hardest, because their houses are just made out of tin
Plywood and tin.
plywood, and so it just isn't very cyclone proof, and so a lot of those people, their houses did get blown away and they have a lot more damage, and so some of the smaller villages did get hit harder, and a lot of the crops got hit really hard. So the supplies for food here has been a bit harder for fresh stuff because all of the farmers, a lot of their stuff got wiped out, so their fields are no more. So it's going to take them a little time to recover, but considering the strength of this storm, I was really impressed how well everything did.
Yeah, and the good news is it flew by us, so
it didn't sit.
Yeah, it just like that was moving so fast. I mean, within a day it got from Vanuatu to Fiji basically, and then it just blew by us and went straight past Tonga. So
yeah, that was the other.
That's the one saving grace.
Yeah. So yeah, they have a lot of efforts to do here. We've reached out to a lot of the local organizations, and we can't volunteer, we can't do anything. They don't want us showing up. Basically, they're saying you can donate money, but that's about it. So they're still kind of organizing, and they are delivering stuff, but just not anything we can do yet. We have a couple of contacts, like water filtration people. So as soon as everybody's allowed to get back together and start organizing and doing things, hopefully we'll be able to volunteer doing some of that work. So we're kind of just waiting.
Yeah.
Just waiting. Anything else? What else is going on? Oh, we were in lockdown and now we're not.
Yeah, it was a 48-hour lockdown here, and it was basically just for Easter because they were worried about everybody congregating to the beaches and hanging out with families, and so they had police all throughout the streets keeping people from moving about. So there was like this 48-hour hardcore lockdown, but on Monday that was lifted.
Yep. So now we're allowed to go on our walks and do our beach cleanups and stuff again, so that's good.
Yeah, we did talk to the tourism board here, and they responded back to us, and we said, when can we start doing stuff and sharing
beyond our neighborhood?
And they basically told us that at this time they wouldn't recommend doing anything other than stuff in our own neighborhood. So unfortunately we can't do any adventures at the moment.
No hikes or anything like that, but so we're kind of just sitting inside in self-isolation, I think, like much of the world is, wishing we were not in the situation we all are, and wishing we were back on our boat where we could at least be working on projects, but we are editing away and getting caught up on all sorts of other things computer-wise. So,
That was the crazy part. It was one day. If we would have arrived in Fiji one day earlier, we could have gotten to Tonga, and we could have gotten back to our boat, and we could have been working on all the projects and everything. So that part's a little frustrating, but it's been frustrating for everybody.
Yeah.
So we just sort of like,
it feels like it could be so much worse.
Yeah,
like we could be in New York right now.
Yeah.
Or somewhere else that's like in like the heat of it and in the epicenter of the worst of it. So,
we're super grateful that we made it here. We're super grateful that the country hasn't kicked us out, and we're grateful that their government has been trying to keep this thing locked down here because they know
if it spreads here, it'd be
bad.
real bad. So they're doing a really good job, I think, given the circumstances and for being on limited resources. They've done a really great job here. So we feel pretty confident in where we are, and hopefully that as soon as things start moving again, our best chance of getting back to the boat is being here, because the islands will probably be most likely to allow travel between each other before the rest of the world.
We have lots of feelers out in Tonga to find out, or to keep an eye on the government when they open the flights again, the international flights. So apparently the ferry, the inter-island ferry, and the inter-island flights are just starting to be announced. So that's good. The kids are going back to school, so that's a positive step for Tonga, and one step closer to us getting back to Curiosity.
So Michael just asked about how Curiosity is after the storm. We just mentioned that she's all good, and that'll be at the beginning of the video. So we will post this for anybody who missed the first portion on Patreon immediately after this, in case you want to watch the beginning if you missed it, or if you have to jump out for some reason, you'll be able to catch it there afterwards.
There's got to be a way to make the notifications pop up.
I know, I have to open it.
Does anybody know how to make the notifications pop up on the phone?
Well,
Chris and Cherie, are you out there?
No, right. RV Geeks?
Hey, Connie, hey.
All right. Well, I am going to start with some of these questions that were on here. And I noticed there were some people saying that they're in like day 29 of lockdown and so on and so forth. And we've been, we just reached our 30th day.
Yeah. Yesterday.
So we've been here for 1 month, and that feels like that's about how long everything's been in like severe lockdown in most places, some places even longer. So anyway, we're constantly feeling like a twinge of guilt for being as somewhat free as we are here, because we think about all of you sitting at home and who are not even allowed to go out and exercise, you know, or you're allowed 1 hour out a day. It's very restrictive, and it's difficult. We keep kind of relating it back to being at Passage and being at sea, because you don't have a choice to stop. You don't have a choice to go to the grocery store. You know, you're just dealt with whatever you're dealt with, and some days can be lovely and sunny, and then some days can be a little bit brutal and you just want to get off the boat. So I know you probably want to just get off the boat right now, but hang in there. So okay, first question. This one is...
Hi, Peter and John, too. I saw your name come up. How do you not know how to do the comments on the cell phone? It's ridiculous.
That's right. We're going to strip your geek status if you can't figure it out. No, we don't have that kind of authority. All right, so Here Then Gone. They want to know, boat maintenance related. Were you able to source everything that you needed? And how long do you think, we know how timelines on repairs go in real life, it will take to get everything you had lined up once you are allowed back to the boat?
So what we're hoping is, we've read that Tonga is supposed to allow cruising again at the end of June. So it would be our dream to get there in May, and that would give us a month and a half to do all the boat projects and tidy up, Curiosity, drop her in the water. And we plan on saving some things for New Zealand, because there's certain things we can't do, which are like the windows, because they're cracked and popping out.
I don't know if we've mentioned this to you yet, but we were literally, our taxi had just pulled up to take us to the airport when we were getting ready to hop that flight back to America, and we heard a very loud pop. And that was one of our other windows that just simply decided to crack in half. So we had to run, grab some silicone, just slather a whole bunch of it on there with the caulking gun, and then get in the taxi and drive away. So our windows are in pitiful shape at the moment. So that's going to be quite exciting to go through a full passage with really sketchy windows. Could be very, very wet. We'll find out. I see some good commentary here. I'm gonna.
Lots of folks dealing with loneliness and being overwhelmed. That's. We've talked about making a video on sort of what we learned from 25 days at sea. That's something we've been tossing around. And
just kind of being isolated on a boat anyway. Sometimes we're in really remote areas. There's not a lot of people to hang out with or talk to or anything like that. It's still, I mean, obviously it's not really comparable, but is at the same time. So there are some things we've learned. We've thought about doing a quick little video about some of those things and how we handled that. So if you are interested in that, then leave us a comment here on Patreon and let us know if you're interested in that kind of a thing.
I did see another question from Here Then Gone about Mystic Sands. Any communication with them? Yes. So we've been in constant contact with Kel, and he...
Hold on. They're asking about Mystic Sands because the Patron Tonga meetup that was supposed to happen in April, the end of April, 1st of May, is obviously on hold because, well, the world can't travel.
Yeah. So Kel has been in constant contact with us, giving us updates, and they're working on restoring the resort after the cyclone, repairing everything. Both cyclones, actually. The first one did a lot of damage, and then the second one just sort of added to it.
I will. So they're offering, obviously, vouchers to everybody to use their stay. They've sent out an email about that, but I can't remember the dates, but it's at least like a year out, and you can use it anytime. And the rates are really low. They gave us their like bottom barrel rates basically for that resort. And so if we're lucky enough, travel will be allowed again. We'll still be there. We'll try to do it. It would be in the height of whale season, which would be normally 4 to 5 times, at least 5 times probably the price of what they offered, that $98 or $95 a day. It would be far more than that because that's their busy season. And so since people aren't able to book right now and all bookings were basically put on hold, we have an opportunity to take advantage of that. We'll totally do it if we can. And so if you can join us, great. If not, you can always book at a later date and time. I have no idea.
Yeah, maybe
it's also,
somebody can fill your spot if
yes.
They are 100% willing to work with us and everyone as best
can.
as they can. Unfortunately, they're a small, very, very small resort owned by just a couple, and they can't afford to give everybody their money back. Just like the airlines are giving
just vouchers. Yeah, so we just have vouchers for the flights that we weren't able to take, and whether or not we'll actually be able to, I mean, who knows what will happen. But yeah, it's everybody's hotel bookings, room bookings, everything has all been just basically vouchers because they'd all go bankrupt if they just gave all the money back immediately. So
which sucks, and we hate that happened. But we understand both sides.
Yeah. So I'll send out maybe an update email about that. And then we've got another one, insane year. Yes, let's see. Let's see if there's. I saw some coming through there. See if you've seen any.
Have you found anything interesting on our beach cleanups? Lots and lots of diapers.
That's Jason's favorite.
Yeah, diapers are great, and we found a homemade bong out of a plastic bottle, so that's real great. Smoking marijuana out of a Coke bottle.
Because if the drugs weren't bad enough, that melting plastic going into your lungs, that ought to do it.
Toothbrushes, I found like 6 toothbrushes yesterday, which is super random. We're feeling a little bit beat down with the beach cleanup. We're still doing it every day, but
and we've also been instructed by people fairly high up in Fiji that we shouldn't actually be posting that because they don't like that we're making Fiji look bad by showing their dirty beaches because they have a serious trash problem. And I struggle with that because I am a guest in their country and I certainly don't want to tick anybody off, but I don't feel like what we're doing is bad. So we're going to continue to do our beach cleanups. I'll probably still show that we're doing those beach cleanups because I think it's important. People need to know. But yeah, the trash problem is pretty severe. They are trying very hard to educate. There are billboards, there are signs about don't litter, about proper trash, but it's just they're struggling with
just ingrained in their culture, just like it was in our culture 50 years ago, 40 years ago. Like I remember growing up in the 80s, and people would just throw their cans and their food trash out the window
as you're driving down the road, and that was a normal thing. I totally remember my parents doing that. Okay, so I am gonna, Cherie from Chickens for Eggs, she asked, did you ever get the water maker fixed / replaced? It had been having some issues for months and I don't remember hearing the outcome. Is that one of the overhaul items?
No, that one is not one of our big overhaul items. The one that we want, so the struggle is the one that we want is 12 volt and the one that we have is made for 120 or regular plugs. So the issue is it would be a complete retrofit, and doing something like that in Tonga would not be a good idea because if we forgot a part or something didn't quite match or fit, then you're screwed stuck. And we have no water maker once we've removed the one.
Yeah, so maybe New Zealand would be a good spot for that.
It's also a dream thing. Like it's a pain in the butt. The one we have, it's like it breaks every now and then, and we fix it. I did figure out that the previous owner installed some super thin piping and like an elbow, which wasn't a problem in Florida because the water is more clean.
Not clean. There's just less stuff floating around.
Yeah, in the Bahamas and the parts of Florida that he was sailing in. So it wasn't a problem for him, and it wasn't a problem for us in the beginning. But once we started getting towards Tahiti, there's all these like floating grass thingies that get sucked up into the intake, and they were getting caught in the corner. So that's what caused my pump to burn up a couple times, and it just took me a while to figure out that's what it was, because I would disassemble it and there wouldn't be anything in there, or maybe there'd be one little piece of grass.
Or jellyfish. Sometimes even a jellyfish it's a small hole, but it doesn't take a lot to clog it up, and so that's been the thing. We would just need to replumb everything, but we don't want to do that.
I did replumb the main part to the main filter.
Yes.
So it has been working better.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Okay, so then the next one was about the refrigerator, and no, still no perfect solution for the refrigerator. I foresee a major reno project happening in our future, and I mean probably New Zealand will or Australia would be a good place to tackle that.
Maybe we want Heidi and Franny to come down and help us,
bring
all their tools.
I know you typically work on cars, but
oh, geez, know how to repair fiberglass,
right?
So and when we were in Miami, one of our main goals was to step on a couple of the newer catamarans and find a fridge. Unfortunately, we spent too much time talking and saying hi and hanging out that we didn't see really any boats, and we only looked at like 2 fridges but didn't get to really like measure anything. So the fridge thing is still an unknown. We
would love to. So Heidi and Franny's garage. If you guys make it to Tonga, we can work on some of those projects. So I think we have a lot of you that if we actually just had a big patron meetup just simply to work on curiosity, because that's exactly what everybody wants to do, right? Come and work on our boat projects.
Hey, they could fly to New Zealand. We could work on the boat for a couple weeks. Then we could all fly to Tonga together, stay at the resort. It'd be like a whole month of fun.
I would owe you all a lot of beer.
Or wine. Or kombucha.
Whatever the heck we can brew up. Okay, let's see. There was another one.
I got lots of we're in. So I mean, I think it's a date. Let's do it.
Lukewarm question. Why? This is from RJ Zimbowski. I'm probably butchering that. I'm really sorry. Lukewarm question. Why don't those coconuts fly off the trees in the wind?
It's amazing.
That they hang on there. We think the same thing. And even as we were walking down with extreme caution, because I look at those and those are essentially like concussions in waiting, right? Yeah. I mean, more people die from falling coconuts than from like lightning strikes. No joke. Yeah. So, real concern actually there.
They call I remember in the redwoods they call the limbs widowmakers, because if a limb falls on you, it would literally kill you. So I think you could call the coconuts here in the islands widowmakers as well.
Yeah, so I've just seen a comment come in about fixing things during quarantine. I think more household projects have probably been tackled in the last 30 days than in like the last 5 years for a lot of people.
Oh man.
Let's see. So Curtis. So I'm still wondering about the composting toilet versus the normal marine head. Do you use both, one or the other, one while anchored and one while making passage? Would you keep the same setup or switch both to composting or regular or what have you?
So I'm not 100% sold as having the composting toilet as my only marine head, just because when you're out to sea, trying to dump it overboard if you're on like a 25-day passage. Now, in theory, if you dumped it right before you started, it should last the whole passage. But the only part that scares me is we haven't gotten to New Zealand yet. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with our cocoa core. We've heard they're pretty intense about any sort of food product or gardening products or anything like that. So I have a feeling they're going to get rid of the cocoa core.
Which isn't a big deal because we'll be able to get more there.
Yes, but in the meantime, we'd want to have like a normal toilet. So we can use the toilet while we're out at anchor or at sea or as we're sailing around. That's my only reserve.
Yeah,
really.
We haven't been anywhere where it's been an issue yet. Everybody's been fine with it. So that would be the only thing. So I don't know what that will be like, if they'll consider that soil or.
Yeah. So we're planning on dumping it right. I think it's 10 miles out From New Zealand, we'll dump the toilet, and then we will just use our regular toilet.
Yeah. So look, we're in a situation where we have multiple heads on a boat, and that's really kind of a lovely thing. So I think having the two as composting and then keeping just one regular is still like a beautiful combination. Reason being, when we're on passage, everything can just go directly out at that moment. So we just try to use that toilet as much as possible when we're on passage. And then when we're inside of a lagoon, you know, that kind of stuff, then that's where the composting heads come in really handy.
Yeah. It was huge, like in Whakarava and other Bora Bora.
Even if, like, when we were in Moorea, we were there for like 2 solid weeks. Our tank fills up in a week because it's small. So, and then you'd have to either go out to sea or you got to get a pump out. But guess what? Most places there is no pump out. Yeah. So the problem is you got to go out. And in some areas, and if it was like during a blow, if we left, we lose our spot in the anchorage. Good luck getting back in there and getting another spot. So anyway, it is still a huge thing. I still am a big fan of the composting toilet. I still think that if I could only have one toilet on a boat, it would be a composting toilet. That would be my personal preference. Jason might
especially on an older boat. I would say a composting toilet would be.
It's just less to deal with. It's less problems, less to go wrong. It's very simple. It's easy. It doesn't smell. The pipes aren't all gross.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it clogging. I mean, there's so many benefits.
Yeah,
for sure. And right now, right now we were just talking about that a couple days ago because in quarantine, people are stuck on their boats. Like we have friends in French Polynesia that are stuck. They can't even jump in the water. They're not allowed to even swim, period, because the locals aren't allowed to go to the beach. So therefore, they don't want the cruisers swimming. And you know, if the locals can't do it, they don't want the cruisers. So these people on their boats are all just having to dump their tanks straight out because there's no pump out. They're not allowed to move. They're not allowed to get out. They're not allowed to go to shore. So what else do they do? Everything's just going straight in the lagoon.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of a funky situation there. I saw one comment come through about would we ever consider upgrading Curiosity or upgrading catamarans? And of course. I think our idea of a perfect boat doesn't exist. We've looked at a few. We have not done like hardcore research because we're not at a place where we're looking to switch over or upgrade or anything like that. But look, we would love to have electric engines. We would love something that's a bit more sustainably made, kind of made to be more off-grid versus kind of what's being produced right now, which are very heavy catamarans that the Ocean Volt engines don't. I mean, those are
not powerful enough to push a Leopard or a Lagoon.
I mean, they are, but they aren't. So it's tough. You need a lighter vessel. And catamarans right now, a lot of them, unless they're performance based, are built very, very heavy. So
in the upcoming videos, we visit 3 different factories in South Africa, and we get to sail on 2 different boats, one being the St. Francis and one being the Leopard 45. It's just all like they're all amazing. They're all wonderful to sail, and it's all a dream because it's way out of our budget.
So it's kind of unrealistic, I guess, so we just don't even really think about it that much.
But the most fun one is the one we didn't get to see because the guy is such a perfectionist. He can't even. It takes him a really long time to get a boat done, so there wasn't one ready.
And he's a very small, independent builder, but the boats he's building are really quite impressive, and we're really excited to show that to you. Because he is putting in the Ocean Volts and he is building a lighter catamaran, and it is a 44-foot boat. So I think it's the closest thing we've seen to what would be our dream boat. Would be something similar in that range. But we also haven't seen the completed boat. We only saw the ones being built. So that's also tricky too. So anyway, lots of dreaming going on, especially after being at the boat show. Like it was kind of fun to see some of the new stuff that was out there.
Yeah, we know Fontaine Pajot is testing one. We know Outremer is building one for Jimmy Cornell. Yeah. So there is potential.
Yeah, there is, and stuff is going on, and we just haven't seen anything yet that's enough to make us want to ditch Curiosity and go a different direction or something.
Yeah, the Ocean Volt and the Torpedo has an offshore direct drive version too. They're both powerful, but just not powerful enough to push our boat.
Right,
so.
and the issue with the Torqeedo one is no region. No region. So Ocean Volt's the only one that we've seen that has the region. Everything else is just focused on electric propulsion. So that's kind of the thing there too. That there is so much coming out. There are so many like manufacturers that we have talked to of engines that don't have an existing electric that hint around at the fact that they are producing one. So I think in the next year to two, we're going to see stuff happen in that category, and that is quite exciting. So in a couple of years, sure, maybe we would look at it, but even still, I'm not willing to like. A new boat is just not in the cards for us.
If somebody gives us one and wants to like test it out, then sure, of course we'll take it. But I don't see that happening, especially with what's going on right now in the industry. It's not.
It's going to be hit really hard. So if you're looking to buy a boat, this would be a good time if you haven't been hit hard financially with all of this, because boat deals will be just uncharacteristically good. Okay, you look for a question there, because I've seen several and I don't know how to make them pop up so that I can see them all. But I know we've got some other ones here. Somebody asked, we've had lots of questions about the ginger beer. I will put together a quick post with my general recipe on the ginger beer. I am not a fermenting expert by any stretch of the imagination, but ginger beer is pretty easy and it's hard to mess it up. So it's a good one to start with if you're interested in trying your hand at fermentation.
It only takes 3 or 4 days to make non-alcoholic ginger beer, so it's it's not a huge investment.
No, and then if you want it to be alcoholic, you're just looking at another 10
week, days or something.
2 days,
depending on your temperature.
What type of oil you use for frying the plantains, and if any seasonings were used? I stick to just salt or maybe some paprika or chili pepper after the fact, and then for frying, I do like a high heat oil like coconut or sunflower oil. Both taste really clean, don't leave an aftertaste, and work really well. That was from Tina Posas. I think I'm saying that right. I think I'm saying it wrong. I don't know.
Make a video. Hey, I'm supposed to be watching
ginger
that.
beer. Well, you're not watching.
I am.
You
just like it pops up and you're like instantly on it.
Get on myself.
I know. More recipes would be great. So we talked about, I did see one question come up a while back, like what have we been working on during the lockdown? And when I said catching up in the video, that was probably taken the wrong way. We are definitely not catching up. We are working as hard as we can to
keep up is more
keep up. Yeah. Time is catching up with us. I guess that's more of an accurate statement. We're getting closer and closer to real time, which
is still good. That was kind of the intention that we wanted from the get-go, is we'd like to be closer to real time, just because it's just more fun when you can see what's going on in our life. And when I say real time, I still mean 2 to 3 weeks out, usually even 4, because a passage can take a week to 2 weeks to 3. So there goes all of that time. So it's fairly impossible to be real time, because we're filming our life in that week, and then we need 3 or 4 days to edit it and produce it. So it's always going to be a bit of a lag. We're not like real-time daily vloggers, but that's the goal.
And that's why we've been able to get a couple extra videos out since we've been in lockdown. So we did do the one where we flew from South Africa to here, and then obviously the one that we just launched was more real-time from the cyclone. So that's where our extra time has been going, to editing those 2 videos and preparing for the cyclone and getting food and learning the ropes here.
I was trying to see if I clicked on it, if it would.
Yeah, I know. Another question about my mom. How's she doing in the RV? You can follow her on Instagram
at Mary's Van.
Mary's underscore van?
Yeah, Mary's underscore van.
Yeah. She's been doing well. Airstream listened to our comments, and I think, according to her, they've been taking care of her. And last time she picked up the RV, they washed it. So
she's had to take it in twice, and they washed it both times. So she's like, clearly, they watched that video.
Any current plans for New Zealand? Yes, the plan for New Zealand is we'll get there as soon as we can. Hopefully the borders open up in Tonga. We can fly there, fix our boat up, and then October is the approximate crossing time. The beginning of October is when we plan on heading towards New Zealand, and then we'll probably RV across New Zealand if we can, and sail around as well.
There's questions about Singa, and he is doing really good. If you aren't following Tales from the Mutiny on Instagram, that's where you can see what he's up to at the ranch. And he is, I mean, he was rolling in the dirt next to the chickens the other day. They were all taking a dust bath together.
He has a girlfriend.
Yes, the little black kitty Linda and
Linda.
him are definitely kind of best buds.
Yeah, there's
and
a recent video
romance.
where they're like literally chasing each other in a fun way, not in a I'm gonna kick your butt way.
No, and Lynn said that they are kind of like they're always together and they're playing together all the time. And
the dog, the crazy young dog.
Happy. Apparently Happy is quite in love with Singa, and he's licked him so much in one spot that Singa is getting a cow lick now. So, and Happy is a big dog with a big time, so anyway. But yeah, he's got lots of loving. So Singa is in a very good place. He's much happier being there in lockdown on a nice big ranch versus being with us. So it was definitely a good place to leave him. So he's very, very happy.
Hey John, sorry you're late. Sorry you just now got the notification.
They go too fast.
Yeah, I know.
Business side of Gone with Wynns, are you incorporated?
We are an S corp.
Yeah.
So we set that up about 8 years ago, something like that. But we're pretty bad with knowing all the tax and bookkeeping stuff. It's hard enough to keep up with QuickBooks. So we do have a bookkeeper that helps us and a CPA that we pay each year to make sure our taxes are legit.
Done properly.
Yeah, that's really it. I mean, otherwise there's not a lot behind the scenes that go on that you don't know about because
it's a lot of sitting behind a computer.
Yeah.
Anytime that you're not actually seeing us on camera, then we're probably parked behind a computer. That's kind of the way it goes.
I have seen a couple people mention Bumfuzzle using WhatsApp. We'll have to look into that. I've never used WhatsApp for Patreon, so for a chat.
Oh.
So.
No, I didn't even know you could do big chats on WhatsApp. So, good. I'll Google that.
Geez, somebody else just got a notification for Patreon too.
Just now. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Well, as I mentioned before, I'll repeat it again, which is I will post this on Patreon immediately afterwards as soon as it's done processing whenever we're off. So in case you missed the first half, you can go back and jump in and catch it.
Crazy big chats. Okay.
Yeah.
Cameras, what? Oh, man. Oh, geez. Well, so at Sony Camera Camp, we got to test all the gear. And that was the main reason we went was...
Yeah, so Camera Camp wasn't so much about learning a lot about how to shoot or anything like that. It was an opportunity to get your hands on all the gear, and then they had text there that could answer any of your questions about the gear. So it was mostly, Camera Camp was about using the cameras, and they gave you a place to do that, and then they had a full rental room, and you could just go borrow anything you wanted so that we could see how it works, see if we liked it, test any piece of gear, any lens. And it was fantastic because it did help us land on a couple of cameras. And we haven't upgraded our camera in over 3 years, our main camera. And so it was past time. Yeah,
so that was the main thing. And it's funny, the cameras that they talk about the most, even 2 years later, the Sony RX100, the one with the 1.8 f-stop, I think that's the 5 version, before they went with the super big zoom. That's still one of their favorites. And also the RX10, the one that we have, they still talk about it like, this camera is amazing. And yeah, it is. But the A7 III, the sensor's better, the dynamic range is better. So if you've noticed, our images are maybe a little bit better, or our clarity in some of the video is better, it's probably because we've got a new lens and the A7 III. And even though the A7 IV just came out when we were there, we tested that, but they recommended for video not to go with the A7 IV because of something about the sensor. not being as good for video.
Yeah, so some cameras are geared towards photo, some are geared towards video, and the A7 IV is geared towards photo. So if you're a photographer, it's an incredible camera.
Yeah.
And then we also got I never ever considered getting a handy cam before until I used one there. And started talking to a bunch of other YouTubers who actually used one as well. And it is not, the quality isn't quite as good, but we also have like the entry level one. Because I just thought, for me, I'm not as good with the camera settings and stuff like Jason is, even though I've been married to him for so long. He's like a crutch is the problem. I know he knows the answer, so I don't retain it myself. And so that is the issue, is because then I have to ask him, even though I've asked the same stupid questions about 100 million times. Don't nod your head. He still has to tell me, because I'm like, oh, why is this thing not working? Or do I change what should I put my ISO at anyway? And then I get it wrong sometimes, and then our exposure's off, or I'm not in focus when I thought it was in focus, and that's an issue. Handy cams are amazing if you're just an amateur, which I totally am. So for me, I flip that thing open and I just go to town. I get to go shoot, and it works great. So I have been loving that thing. And I know that the RV Geeks also have a similar handy cam, and they raved about it too. And I remember thinking like, meh, and then I used it. So yeah, exactly.
AX, yeah, so they have the AX 53.
And we have like, I think it's 45 or something.
Yeah, the AX 45. It's the brand new one that just came out, and it has some things that the AX 53 doesn't have that we wish it had, which is like an eyepiece.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's crazy. You just flip open the little side screen, and boom, it starts recording, and it's like set.
Yeah.
And it has a crazy gimbal in the lens. Yeah.
So it's really nice and steady, and I'm really bad with camera shake, so I'm not very good at holding it steady. So it does.
Yeah, the Geeks say is exactly the same, just without the eyepiece.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, it is a great camera. You were right.
Hey, Salt Lake City, what's up?
Okay, so Happy Go Londons. The Happy Go Londons. So also now new fellow YouTubers. Were in the middle of trying to do the Appalachian Trail, and of course coronavirus happened, so they've been put on hold. So nothing like getting rid of your apartment and selling all your goods to go do a big adventure, and then getting told you're getting kicked off the trail. So, man, you guys, so hard. Anyway, they have a couple of questions for us about, I think, as budding creators, we have a long way to go and lots to learn before we can get on your level. Watch our early videos, you'll feel fine about yourself.
And RV Geeks, no, I won't say it again. You got it once.
You'll just have to like clip that from the video afterwards.
Is it hot in here, or is it just me? I want to turn on the AC.
Do you storyboard, plan out your videos before shooting them? Either way, what does that process look like? So the problem is whenever you're on an adventure, there's no storyboarding that. Every time we've ever tried and said like, oh, we're gonna like think of a legit plan and go with that, something happens, a storm comes up, your day completely changes. So we just stopped even trying. Everything we do is really guerrilla style, good or bad. I know other people that do kind of storyboard things out. They probably are far more efficient than we are, but you also lose some of the elements of feeling like you're right there along with us, because we're freaking out in real time. Or we're dealing with the problem in real time. It's not
well, you also have a plan like, okay, I'm going to go to XYZ, and then you get done with X, and now you're running late for Y, and then it puts everything in a bad mood, and you're rushing around, and now you can't get the shots you want to get. So it just sort of like, it just sort of flusters you.
Yeah, because then you had a plan, but nothing's going according to plans. It always just feels like, what's the point? So we have Jello plans. Like sometimes we'll say, okay, we're going on a sale today. I want to make sure and point out our feathering props, because people have asked about it, and I kept forgetting to say something. So as I put those feathering props, as I feather them today, I want to make sure and mention it and why we do that. So sometimes I'll have at least just like one goal for the day. So if you're hiking on the trail and you're like, man, I haven't talked about my hiking poles yet, I should really talk about my hiking poles, because they are pretty handy and they make this trail a lot easier, whatever the case may be.
Guy, you just got the Patreon notification too. That's crazy. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, we're gonna have to figure out a different way to do this.
Yeah. Well, I guess I should have sent out like maybe an hour early.
Maybe an hour early.
Just like a reminder.
Yeah.
Jeez. Sorry, guys.
I didn't see what Mike asked, so John.
I've noticed that some of them they keep filtering back through, so hopefully
right.
that'll keep happening.
And the shirts that I've been wearing in the past couple of videos, those are designed by.
Those were given to us by the Happy Go Londons
Yeah.
whenever we had the meetup in Dallas. So thank you guys for the
Yeah.
T-shirts. So the one that says "You keep me safe, I'll keep you wild" with the what's that thing called where you flip it up? It's got sand in
The
it.
timer thing.
Somebody help.
Sand timer thing.
Anyway, with that thing on it,
Yeah.
and then the one with the bees, trees, clean seas.
Hourglass.
The
Thanks,
hourglass.
Keith. Yeah.
Thank you.
So somebody asked if they could ask questions beforehand in the future. Yeah, of course. That's what we're working from right now. Is some of the questions from the original patron.
Yeah. So whenever I put it, I said put any burning questions, and we'll start with those. So that's kind of what I'm flipping through here, and then I'm trying to chime in with some of the ones that are coming through.
Yeah, VR video. I mean, I think that would be amazing, especially like a real life sort of 10-minute clip of sailing or coming into anchor, doing something exciting. Yeah, that would be awesome. But I can't imagine that sort of technology and equipment on the boat with all the salt and the wind and everything.
I mean, there are some of it which happens with a lot of the 360 cameras, and if you have the VR goggles. So what we've seen is that everybody always anticipates that that's going to be the new thing, and that everybody's going to have a virtual reality set, and that's the way the content's going. But then every year it doesn't happen. So when we look at the numbers of how many people actually view VR content in VR, the numbers are so low that for us to invest in the equipment needed, and then just the file size of those for uploading is a lot bigger, and storage and everything else. So if we were on more of a mainland where we had better connection, that would absolutely be an option. But in the islands, we're working off of usually cell phone data and stuff like that. So uploads are just, it's really hard to get really good quality uploads without taking 3 days to upload it.
Yeah, what do we think about the Insta360 One X? We love it. It's a great little camera.
It's a pain in the arse to edit because you have to do it within their app if you really want to be able to do a decent job. But it is super cool. It is very unique. You can capture everything at once. I really love it for snorkeling. You have to be incredibly close to whatever you're wanting to capture for it to be good.
That's the one downside. People are saying, oh, this camera is great for that, for 360 VR, blah, blah, blah. Well, you have to be so close and immersed in whatever you're showing that it's just incredible. You hold it this far away from you and you look far away from the camera, and so those coconut trees that you think look absolutely gorgeous are a mile away and you can't even see them.
Yeah, whenever I go diving, if I want to get a turtle or a fish or anything like that, I have to be insanely close to it for it to look like it is close. But if you can get there, or that turtle swims right behind you, or that shark comes up, or there's that really cool fish, I don't have to be as concerned with looking in my viewfinder and trying to track it that way. I can be more focused on enjoying the moment and capturing that, and it still comes out pretty cool. So I think it's pretty nifty. It's not a main piece of equipment, but I think it's a really neat toy.
Yeah, and I think the new one, the R, I think it's called the R, the one that looks like a GoPro. That one is a step up in quality because it's a year or 2 years newer. So we're gonna try to get our hands on that and see how that does underwater. But that seems promising.
Yeah.
As far as
clearly, we won't get that for a long time. They may have a new one out by the time we could actually get that to us. But I think that is very interesting, and what they're doing with cameras, and a lot of that is very cool, and the angles are just incredible. So I dig it. I'm a fan. If you read this out, just call out Bernie. Okay, Bernie, this one's for you. The last name is way too hard. Well, now I feel like I have to try. Oh, he's terrible at reading names, so we'll let him do that. Go for it.
Bernie Schwintek. I got it. Nailed it. That's perfect.
That actually was not too far off, probably. But Bernie, tell us if it was right or wrong. Anyway, given that the Jolly virus seems to be hanging around for a while, what are the visa restrictions on you both, and what is your thought process currently returning to the USA? Have you got any indication from the local government on when any restrictions will be lowered?
I got it correct from Bernie.
Donate. Maybe your patrons can donate a local delicacies to Minion and you could do a tasting session. I'll be sitting for the ingredients for a Tim Tam Slam. I don't know what that is, but now I'm
Tim, we know a Tim Tam, but what's a Tim Tam Slam?
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Fortunately, Fiji has a very lenient tourist visa policy. It is 4 months when you check in, and then you can easily extend 1 to 2 months. So we've been here for exactly a month and a day, I believe. So we're doing pretty good. We better be somewhere in 4 months. Oh my God.
Yeah, so we're really hoping it doesn't go that long, but we've been told it's not that difficult to extend here. And so our best chance of getting back to Tonga is by being here. If we go back to the USA, it'll only make things trickier. And we don't have a home in the USA. That is the big thing. We haven't lived there, certainly in any sort of a house in almost 10 years now, and we've been sailing for 4 years. So we haven't even been in the USA during those 4 years. So going back to the USA doesn't do us a lot of good. We don't have a home to go to. We would have to rely on friends and family.
Yeah. Plus it puts us further away from where our home is, and that's the big deal is, well, if they open the borders, they're going to open the borders most likely to places like Fiji and New Zealand before they open them to the US and Europe, because that's where is getting hit the hardest.
So that's that. But yeah, so visas here, we're pretty lucky in the fact that as US citizens, we get our 4 months. So that's hopefully long enough.
I did see a question about cost. We are paying about $1,000 a month to have our boat on the hard. And I think it's $25 or maybe $50 a month to have it just wiped down once a week. So it's not terrible.
But it's not cheap. And so all the extra months of storage are a real thing. And so now especially it's like you have to pay for your living costs, and then it's like paying for an extra apartment that you don't get to stay in. So I mean, it's a bummer, but look, we just don't talk about it because I just don't feel, I feel like there are so many people that are struggling and they have way bigger problems that me whining about. Like, everybody's in kind of a crappy financial situation.
Anybody that has a boat is probably renewing their insurance right now, going, why am I having to pay for this? It's just sitting there.
And that was us. Our insurance went up this year by another
$2,000. Almost $2,000.
Yeah. So it feels like we're kind of getting hit from like left, right, and center.
But that's everybody.
But it is everybody. So it all kind of is crap, but complaining about it doesn't help.
Yep.
So we just kind of swallow it and just keep thinking that things are going to get better, or the economy will somehow get spurred after this. I mean, I have no idea, to be quite honest, and whether any of this, it feels like it's just such an open field that you just can't even make predictions. So it seems pointless to plan. We kind of just go day by day, which is okay, because as sailors, like, that's what we learn to do. As travelers, you roll with the punches, and every day is never usually what you intended it to be, and you go with it. So we keep our chins up, keep a positive attitude, because the moment you let yourself spiral down, it's a nasty dip.
Yeah, and it doesn't do any good to complain.
Nah.
But
the reality of it is very harsh, and a lot of people are getting hit pretty hard. So.
But fortunately, thanks to you guys, we are able to keep going and keep sharing what we have, and we'll continue sharing as long as we can, and we
until you all disappear and we start washing dishes and begging for food, or really catch that flight home and go to work for whoever will hire, because there's going to be a long line of people looking for a job. So we're pretty thankful to still at least have what we have, and that you guys are here, and that we're fortunate enough to kind of keep on working while in this situation. So that we just feel like we can't complain at all.
And at the end, hopefully everybody will be stronger, and everybody will be more thoughtful and more together than as a world.
We hope that sticks and isn't just like a temporary thing, and then everybody gets back with their lives. So I don't know. I think everybody's kind of growing a little bit closer in a lot of this. So there's always a bright side.
One comment I saw roll through a couple times is, did we ever get used to people staring at us when we talk to the camera?
No.
It's always weird.
It's painfully awkward. the more populated the area is and that I have to actually talk to the camera, the more uncomfortable I get.
I don't know. It's probably more uncomfortable in a quiet spot where there's only 10 or 20 people than it is in a busy park.
I guess. No matter what, it's just never
It's
good.
super weird, yeah.
Yeah, and look, I will say in islands and certain areas, it can be a little difficult because some people don't want to be filmed, and we're those people that, like, I care a lot about how I'm making somebody else feel. So if I think that somebody's giving me the side eye and not happy that I'm filming, then I'll have a tendency to just not film or not get the shot because I don't want to make anybody else uncomfortable. And sometimes I may be overly conscious about that, but
some people on YouTube will see they have like a camera here or a camera like somewhere on their body, and they turn off the lights on the GoPro, or they turn off the lights on whatever little camera they have, and they're just recording other people
without their knowledge, and that I just can't get on board with that.
I never was a street photographer when I was when I was into photography. Like, I just can't take photos of people or videos
that
of
don't
people
know that we're doing that. I don't mind getting a whole scene or something like that, or especially if the faces aren't recognizable, but I don't want somebody filming me and me not knowing about it, or coming up to me and asking me questions or doing something and having a GoPro rolling, but I can't tell that it's rolling, and then using that
uncomfortable and
later without me. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. It feels like you should have somebody's permission, and we always ask if we can film people.
And we get told no often, so.
And I'm okay with
that's
that.
What I mean. A lot of people want more genuine stories of the local culture, but that's extremely difficult to get when you're just passing through somewhere you're only here for a few days, like.
Or even with Rufus and Kate. Kate is fine with being on camera. It doesn't make, like, she hates watching herself, as we all hate having to watch footage of ourselves or hearing our own voice on a recording is terrible, but she is okay with it. Rufus doesn't like it. He doesn't like to be on any social media platform. He won't even let her post photos of him on her own Instagram page. Like, that's how severe he is about it. So some people just don't like it. My own family members, a lot of my family does not want to be on camera, which is also why we don't really film when we go home, because you also don't want to be the person that shows up and then your friends and family feel like the only way they get to hang out with you is if you have a camera in your hand. So that's not cool either. So we try to strike a balance somewhere in there with all of that.
Good thing Mary's okay with it.
Yeah.
So my mom, the Geeks, when they were in Dallas visiting, they filmed a segment with my mom for the RV show, and it is, I can't wait to see it. So,
So she'll be in an upcoming episode of the RVers. Yeah, so keep an eye on the RV Geeks. They'll make sure and post about it whenever that goes live.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Mm-hmm. So she'll be on the big screen.
Yeah. One question about toilets I saw come across. The toilets here don't swirl. The toilets here just go, and they're incredibly inefficient, and they don't really work. And it's like, it's.
If there's ever been a time that you wanted your composting toilet back, it was after using the toilets here. It is like, it looks like 5 gallons of water just being like sloshed out of a bucket into a toilet. Like, it just comes at it.
And it doesn't even clean the bowl like it should. Like,
I feel like I'm gonna go. It'll be a clean toilet, but I will make a recording and I will post it here afterwards of just the toilet flushing, just for you, because it is not a normal toilet flush of what I'm used to. And they had the same exact toilets, oddly enough, in South Africa.
Yeah.
It's a completely different part of the world, but they flushed the same, and I thought it was strange in both places. So anyway, weird things you notice as you move about.
The Acuva NX, it's incredible. Somebody just asked about it. We installed that one on my mom's. She got the very first model, which was incredible that they sent us that for her. And it's been working as well as the one that we have, and it's like half the price, and that part is just, it blows my mind.
Yeah, so it's they're still on, like, you still can't get them yet, so they're still on pre-order, and a lot of that has happened because of coronavirus. It's just slowing all sorts of manufacturing down, and lots of people just haven't been able to produce at all. But it is an incredible piece of equipment, and right now we don't have anything. We have no way of purifying our water. We've tried a couple of different of the stores that were actually open when we first got here, but now there's nothing. So we can't even, like, there's no such thing as even like a Brita filter here. And the water here, it goes from like brown to clear. So some days it's okay to drink, and then other days it's not. They have a lot of I guess, issues around here. So we can't drink the water out of the tap, and we're having to
funny sometimes.
We're having to buy plastic bottles, and it just kills us. And there's limited recycling, so we have a massive stack of plastic bottles because the recycling center isn't open. They're under lockdown too. So we have it's a real conundrum. It's a real problem. There is a company we've been connected with that they do filtration here, and they've been trying to slowly provide the people here in Fiji with clean water. So I'm hoping we can do a story about that eventually when we're all allowed to move about again, because you think of Fiji water and they tout it as being the best water in the entire world, and yet it's like 80%.
Something like 70% or something, like some high rate of people here don't have access to clean water, safe drinking water.
So it's pretty wild.
Yeah, so when we landed here, and it just sort of blew my mind as an American, you see Fiji water and it's $5 a bottle, and it's this beautiful, serene little photo on the background of this expensive, fancy looking bottle of water. And I think in my head, okay, overwater bungalows, I think pure, clean water, you know, jungle, beautiful beaches, crystal clear water. And then we get here and our beach is covered in trash, and it's like a muddy bay, and so the water's kind of brown.
And a lot of the locals, they use the river as a dumping system. So when they're further in, they dump their trash in the river, and then it floats down, and that's why it comes out these outlets. Again, one of those things that the Fiji government doesn't want us to talk about on like public video, and well, we're here in as a guest, and so we're certainly not going to publish anything that might upset them at the moment. So we are being very cautious about that. But I mean, the issue is real, and look, we're not an expose channel, but it's a real thing.
Yeah, it's a real thing. But as an American coming here and seeing, like, having this idea in my head of what Fiji was, and then landing here and thinking, oh wow, it's so vastly different than I imagined, which has been the case with a lot of the islands like Tahiti and Bora Bora and everything like that. Yes, it's beautiful, but it's not as beautiful as you might picture it in your head after reading the super high-end Rob Report magazine, or I don't know, whatever those super flashy.
It is in the outer islands, and it is even on other beaches on this main island. You can get further away from like this muddy bay, which is simply just river. So it's just inland dirt mixing with the seawater. So it's not. It doesn't mean that it's
not a dirty bay.
It just looks muddy. So it's look, there are lovely, beautiful areas, and the scenery is still epic. But it's sometimes what the brochures tell you and what you see when you get here are kind of two different things. So Norman asked about how much are we missing Texas right about now, and did we bring our electric bikes with us? Man, what I would not give to have those bicycles with us right now. So I am a big fan of electric bikes. I really did love our bikes. So they're still at Jason's mom right now. And we couldn't bring them with us because we would have had to stick them on our crate. We didn't have room for them in the crate.
Yeah, we would have had to ship them to California at an immense cost and then put them in the crate, and they would have taken up half the crate. So our $1,500 bikes would have now become $3,000 bikes each.
And the other issue is space on the boat. So even though they're folding, we still don't have a great place for those on our boat. They'd have to be inside, and getting them down and into the V-berth. It's
not possible because we have to walk down the step and then take a hard turn.
It can be done, but there's just so much potential. We'd end up damaging everything along the way. It's just not great. So we found another like smaller kind of in between a scooter and a bike option. So we're going to give it a go. We'll see how it is. Those are in the crates. They were a lot smaller footprint.
Super tiny, and they're just electric. So they're not actually pedal power. So they don't have all the same parts that can rust.
Yeah.
And the idea is we're going to have to stay in a hotel while the boat's on the hard. So we'll take our electric scooter back and forth, which is like 4 or 5 miles. So we'll see how they do. They're definitely not as much, they're not even a quarter as much fun as our Blix bikes were, but they're still a form of transportation.
I think in the future, if we had a different boat or somewhere to store them properly, then electric bikes would be certainly the way we would go. So if I had a spot to store them, they'd be on the boat. But we had that issue with our folding bikes before. We struggled with the place to keep them where they wouldn't get damaged and they wouldn't rust.
And we did look at scooters, folding electric scooters, and those were so heavy It was amazing. The ones
50,
that actually
60
have a
pounds.
decent range are still 40 or 50 pounds or more, and the ones that have the bigger wheels. So I think what we ended up with is
A good compromise.
Yeah, I don't remember the brand. Well, of course, we'll talk about it when we open up our crate, but it's a
Yeah.
good compromise.
Yeah, but definitely having something is
I think-
huge because it increases your range, and rental cars can be
Yeah.
really expensive, and even just trips to the grocery store and stuff can start to get a bit much when you're carrying a whole lot of really heavy cans and everything else. So
And trying to carry a bunch of cans on a scooter, like balancing them on your arms or on the handlebars, like that
Yeah.
didn't seem like very smart either with bad roads. So that's how we ended up with what we ended
yeah,
up with.
so it's nice to have like a bicycle type seat.
Yeah.
It gives you a little more stability. So okay, and then are you getting updates? So I think that was about it on this one.
Media storage.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as cloud. It's too expensive. We have too much data. It doesn't work for us in our needs as we travel. We just carry hard drives. And then whenever we have people fly out, then we send them with the older hard drive. We keep one hard drive on the boat, and we send one of the backup hard drives home with them. So they have a duplicate back in the States, and it's my mom. So that's kind of how we handle it, and we keep everything because it takes too long to go through and try to remove the clips that aren't good or remove the clips that we didn't use, because inevitably when we do that, we waste time, and then we end up deleting something accidentally that's not
good. Yeah, and
not
we do.
good.
We keep all raw footage, so
All
it
raw
is.
footage.
It adds up. It is a lot of stuff, but luckily, drives are getting bigger and bigger and more
Yeah.
affordable all the time, which does help. So you know,
It's time for a new computer. I was just online looking at the new Mac, and it's so incredibly expensive, and I just don't know if I can do it. I've also looked at the Acer. There's a new Acer that came out called ProArt. Yeah, that looks like that might be the one, but it's
yes.
it's quite pricey.
Somebody asked about any new swag. Yeah, so I've been working on swag. The issue is I am just so incredibly picky, and that's always not to my it's not always to my benefit. So the problem is I don't want to print on, if I'm going to put out merch and I'm going to encourage you to buy it, I want it to be sustainably made. That is my mantra. Like the ocean is too important to me. I can't sell you a plastic t-shirt, especially not made from virgin plastic. So finding a really good company that can keep something in stock and then I can get that to a printer has been more challenging than I anticipated. I thought I had some good brands, but everything has been a little bit crazy the past several months, and a lot of people were out of stock. So I am working on it, and I would really like to get somebody in the US. Like we have one that's in the UK, and they're a great company. But I hate even having you buy from them and having to ship it to the US.
Yeah.
So I'm looking, I've got a guy in the US that can print for us. It's just finding a good, responsibly made shirt that we can get enough stock of to be able to print on, and then obviously financial reasons to make sure that that's viable, that we can invest in doing that.
Yeah,
Because
I
all the
saw a
print
couple-
on demand companies, the
Yeah.
problem is they don't print on, they don't use organic cotton, they're not using recycled plastics for their t-shirts, or it'll say made from recycled plastic and it's 5% of the shirt. Everything else is regular virgin.
I saw a couple
Whatever.
mentions about hats, and it's the same thing. Most of them are made from plastic. Same with the one that Riley wears. It's a straw hat, but if it was just actual straw, it wouldn't look like that. I have a similar hat that somebody gave me from Quicksilver and Billabong, and there's like Roxy. There's like 5 or 8 different brands I've seen that have the exact same hat. That I don't know.
It's a conundrum. So it's really hard because we try to be really responsible about pieces we buy, but also because we want them to last, because we want to invest in it and then have it for a really long time, because we also don't get to shop very often. So we want to make sure if we buy something, it's gonna last. So anyway, that's like a personal issue. But anyways, we are working on it. So I've got some good stuff, but then coronavirus happened, and
and same with our company Biophilia Living that I saw a couple people ask about.
Yeah, so we announced at the meetup in Florida, we are starting a new company, and it is, while we were starting a new company, everything's kind of on hold because we can't order anything. And we will have a wide variety of products, but the big one and the whole idea behind starting it was sunscreen.
We've been developing and testing the sunscreen for 2 years. We've been handing it out to cruisers that we meet along the way, kiteboarders, and all the reports we've gotten back are super positive. And it's ready to be made. We just have to get funding for the SPF testing and find a lab that can bottle it. My mom can't do it because she's not SPF certified. There's so much red tape in order to get that SPF label and call it a sunscreen. That makes it incredibly expensive and difficult to do on a low volume, especially. So yeah, as soon as we can get that rolling, we'll announce that.
Yeah, so I'll start sharing a little bit more about what's going on with all of that. But so we have a sunscreen, we have a really awesome all natural deodorant. The RV Geeks, yes, they got to be some early testers whenever we saw them. We handed them some samples. They're loving it. We've handed it out to all kinds of other people along the way. We have a whole bunch of other products kind of in the pipeline. It's not all skin and body care, but the idea is there's zero plastic packaging, everything's sourced responsibly, packaging is biodegradable. It's all just about, like, you shouldn't have to make such difficult choices when you go out shopping. Same for me when I go to buy a t-shirt or anything else. It shouldn't be trying to choose the lesser of evils. It should just be something responsibly made. So that's what we're going for. That's what we're doing. It's been over a year in the making, and we haven't been talking about it because it's all just so much to kind of
seems to crumble every time, like, we get close to one thing and it's like, oh no, this certification is going to cost you a fortune and you have to make 100,000 of them or something.
Yeah,
like,
the minimums and everything else. So starting a company from the ground up is a bit of a thing, but the brand name, so we registered and everything when we were back in Texas. We have filed for all of our trademarking and everything else. It's called Biophilia Living, and there is a whole philosophy behind the word biophilia, and it really just means a love of all living things. And so of course we have a love affair with nature and all living things, so it just kind of made sense. Okay.
Of course it's reef safe.
Of course it's reef safe.
It's human safe, it's animal safe, it's reef safe. Literally, when you're done with the packaging and everything, you can throw it in the water. It's just vegetable wax.
I still
and
wouldn't
paper.
suggest doing that, but unfortunately, that is where a lot of things end up, and we wanted to make sure that if that is where it ended up, it would be okay. So, more on all of that.
I did see a couple people mention Hank and John have a store, and they're super eco-friendly, so maybe we should look at their.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, any comments like that? Like, I think that YouTube just deletes all these comments whenever we hit, like, don't go unlive or whatever the hell you call it. So if you have like really good tips about a store, then share it on the patron feed, because we will look back through those.
Yeah. Somebody else also mentioned VPN advice. VPNs are pretty awesome. There's a whole bunch out there. They're all very similar. You just have to look at the plans and see which one works best for you and what you're wanting out of it. Dashlane is a good one. There's like Hide My Ass VPN. There's NordVPN. I would just look at the pricing structure, and because they all kind of offer different things and location services. So, but they are helpful whenever you're in an area like this and you can't log into your Netflix or anything like that. Banking can be really helpful because that way they don't flag you whenever you're logging in from too many random countries. All that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah. Well, that's a wrap, guys. It's time to eat some lunch.
It's not lunchtime yet.
Well, I had breakfast 2 hours ago.
10 o'clock. Jason is a human garbage disposal. He is like a 12-year-old growing boy. You have to feed him like every half hour to keep him sustained.
We have been using 1 hour every day to at least take a walk on the beach, do the trash pickup, and get some exercise, some push-ups, some cardio, dancing.
Yes, actually, I think it was Norman that mentioned, like, are you missing Texas right about now? Look, I've been happy to have like a lack of all of my favorite foods, because we easily gained 10 to 15 pounds on this little adventure of eating our faces.
You'll see me reference it in the next video until that works out.
Man. So being here and exercising every day has been a good thing, man. All right, thank you guys immensely. Seriously, we wouldn't be here without you. We loved meeting up with every single one of you that we got to see, whether that was in Denver, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Texas, Florida. The people we ran into in South Africa, the people that we saw this past year in French Polynesia that came through that were on trips. Anyway, it's just been incredible. The boat show was amazing. We saw more of you there than we've ever seen before, and it's just been anyway, you just make me want to cry every time because I think you're all pretty amazing, and I think it's incredible that you support so many of us, and you make it possible for us to do what we do. So I get heavily emotional about it. I really apologize. But I love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting us, and especially right now, like it's a bit of a time, but you're helping keeping us afloat, literally and figuratively. So thank you very much. We love you immensely, and we'll chat again sometime soon because, well, it doesn't look like we're going anywhere. Love you. Bye.
Bye.